the echo.
Okay.
So, hi everybody, and welcome to that live show with Robert and Elizabeth tonight.
Hello.
It's a great opportunity because we have been live with Robert before, and we were sharing content around the program that will be happening in Nice on the 7th, 8th, and 9th of October around conscious leadership. And today, it's not just about sharing content; it's about you having answers to your questions. So I think it's a pretty huge opportunity to have Robert answering what you want to know more about conscious leadership. So hi, Robert.
Hello. It's good
Hello.
to be here.
And hi, Elizabeth. And thank you, Robert, for spending this moment with us. I think it's a great moment because, again, it's not about sharing content. It's about really being live with what's coming. And before we have some questions, we wanted maybe to start with a question around what is the difference between a manager and a leader to you?
Yes, I just want to point out when I'm looking, I only see a small picture of you, and then everything else. I don't see
Then
us.
I'll stop the sharing and
Yeah, I think that's maybe best to do, just
we
so that we can see everybody.
yeah.
Donc, nous allons commencer par la question, quelle est la différence entre un manager et un leader?
Well, and I think the key here is that, a manager manages what is. A manager takes, what already exists and tries to, keep it steady or incrementally improve it. Whereas a leader has to take it to somewhere new. We have to go somewhere that is different and that is, potentially risky as well as, has a big reward.
Donc, un manager, effectivement, va intervenir avec ce qui est, avec ce qui existe déjà, là où un leader doit amener l'ensemble à un prochain niveau.
And I think, clearly, the qualities that we associate with a leader are things like vision, like courage, like determination, and with a big sense of mission and ambition. Whereas the qualities you tend to associate with a manager are more like stability. They're trying to keep things going in a good way, obviously, but they're not particularly trying to take it somewhere new or somewhere more.
Un manager va avancer avec de la stabilité, ne va pas essayer d'amener à quelque chose de nouveau, là où un leader va intervenir avec une notion de vision, d'ambition, d'amener l'ensemble vers quelque chose de nouveau.
Okay. And so what we were also wondering with Elizabeth, is there a feminine side of leadership and a masculine side of leadership? How do you see that?
Sure. I think there's a feminine and a masculine side of everything. There's a yin and a yang in everything. And typically, and masculine and feminine does not have to be either in a male or a female, just like yin and yang. The feminine side is more it's more receptive, it's more nurturing. The masculine side is more about taking action and about going in a specific direction. And so just like we all need this a mother and a father energy, I think that's similar to what we need in leaders. And it's best when we can balance them both in ourselves, where we can be, again, visionary and determined, but also where we can be, emotionally intelligent and also, welcoming and nurturing.
Donc effectivement, est-ce qu'il y a un leadership masculin, un leadership féminin? L'idée, c'est qu'effectivement, il y a du masculin et du féminin dans chacun de nous, dans chaque partie, et ça n'a pas à voir uniquement avec un aspect homme et femme. C'est l'idée globale, c'est d'avancer avec de l'intelligence émotionnelle.
And so what would be like an expression of a feminine kind of feminine behavior as a leader that would be at the core of the feminine leadership?
Well, again, if you think of the qualities that we would call yin, yin is more, it's open, it's inviting, it's curious, it's receptive, it's wanting to engage people and involve people. It's more relationship oriented, whereas the masculine side is more task oriented. So, that's probably the simplest way to, characterize the feminine and masculine forms of leadership, an emphasis on relationship versus an emphasis on task.
Donc la dimension masculine est plus orientée vers la tâche et la dimension féminine plus vers la réception, l'émotion.
So, because I think this question is really important, because we say that the next step of leadership is feminine, because the conscious leadership and the upcoming world needs more of the feminine side of leadership. What is your stand around that?
Well, just this idea that if we take that sort of basic, balance between task and relationship, we're saying that, relationship is key. And part of the reason that it's so key is that, the future is going to be a function of our ability to work and act collectively and in relationship. So, the sort of masculine side, the task side, the yang side is more about technology. The yin side is more about people. It's about collective. It's about, wholeness and connection. So I think big challenge of what's happened in our world is we've gone way into the sort of more technology side, and we really need that human side. So we used to say in the 1960s, high tech, high touch, and you need both. The feminine side is more it's more somatic, as we said. It's more emotionally intelligent, and that's going to be necessary to have truly high performing and generative teams.
Donc l'idée pour le futur, effectivement, c'est que nous avons intérêt à relier les deux, la dimension technologique, la dimension relationnelle, pour amener les équipes par de l'intelligence collective.
Yeah.
Okay. And maybe just before Elizabeth goes with a question, can you share with us one of the tools that we may learn during the program that will enhance that feminine side of us that we need more of?
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, a big part of that, as I was saying, relates to the emotional intelligence of a conscious leader and our ability to welcome everything that's there. So, we'll be working with tools relating to things like being able to be in a centered but receptive state. We're going to be working with tools that allow us to bring in to a group a lot of different perspectives and hold them from a place of, curiosity and caring, if you will. And that's where really a lot of the most important ideas emerge. So we'll be working with, how do we be with difference and with difficult feelings, but also how do we make stronger sense of resonance and connection between ourselves and others. And there will be, again, specific practices and tools that we present to work with that.
Donc effectivement, durant le cursus, nous allons pratiquer différents outils, nous allons avoir différentes pratiques pour éveiller ou améliorer cette dimension féminine, relationnelle, etc.
Okay. Isabelle?
We already received some questions from leaders, from managers. And for example, one of these questions is, it's a company in the service sector, in the maintenance cleaning. And the question is, we had to innovate overnight in a hurry, so not to lose our customers. How to keep this dynamic of innovation, this creativity of the employees in times when there is less urgency, and is that possible?
Sure, of course it's possible, and we see the most successful companies do that. They don't wait for a crisis to innovate, and especially to do this kind of disruptive innovation. And clearly, this is where leadership comes in. If there's no leadership, people, they tend to fall back on what they're familiar with and do what they know. So if we want there to be innovation, this is where leaders need to make that a priority, and then establish ongoing practices that are part of supporting and creating that kind of innovation. And you see that with the most successful companies, with the Googles, with the Apples. They don't wait until there's a crisis before they innovate. They're constantly looking ahead and constantly looking for what can we do different, what can we do better. So I think it's that, again, this combination of two things, leadership, but also then establishing, processes and practices within that company that are going to lead to a sustaining and ongoing support of that.
Alors Robert dit que les entreprises qui réussissent n'attendent pas que ces situations surviennent. Elles sont dans une culture de l'innovation et elles encouragent cette recherche permanente, à la fois par une posture de leader qui lui-même incarne cette posture-là et en même temps qui en fait une priorité. C'est-à-dire que ça fait partie de ses pratiques et il instaure au sein de ses équipes des pratiques qui vont renforcer la culture de l'innovation, la culture de la créativité, pour encore une fois ne pas attendre que les situations urgentes et dramatiques arrivent, mais bien pour les anticiper. Comme on le voit chez Google, comme on le voit chez Apple, ils ont cette culture de l'anticipation et de l'innovation.
Thank you. One other question is about confidence. A leader wonder, how do you keep yourself confident when you are forced to part with some of your staff?
Well, I think there's an issue of confidence, so there's an issue of, let's say, compassion. I think if you're having to release staff, especially in these days because of crises and the economic, downturn and challenges, it's part of what we have to do. And to me, then there's a compassion of feeling for the people that you are having to let go, and hopefully trying to prepare them as much as possible for them to, be able to move forward and find other work. But I think, the confidence side is, does this mean that you are a failure or that you're doing something wrong? And I think this then relates to our sense of our own, connection to our passion, our mission, our vision. To me, it's always a sense of confidence about the future. So I think maybe that's what this question is really asking about. How do I stay confident in a future when it seems like the present is uncertain, is disrupted, it's not in a positive state? And I think this is where those inner qualities come in of our sense of, in some ways, it's of courage, it's of commitment to what it is that we want to be bringing through our business into the world and to our customers. Then I think there's also a whole issue of self-confidence, and self-confidence comes from, my belief in myself, that I am doing the best that I can in these circumstances, and that sometimes it's necessary in order to keep the larger mission alive, that I'm going to have to reduce staff. It's not an easy decision, but it's a necessary decision.
Okay. So, ce que dit Robert, c'est que l'enjeu, il n'y a pas seulement un enjeu de confiance dans ce contexte où on doit se séparer de collaborateurs, c'est aussi un enjeu de compassion, et ces deux dimensions cohabitent dans ces décisions qui sont de toute façon difficiles. L'enjeu en matière de compassion, c'est évidemment d'accompagner les personnes dont on doit se séparer le mieux possible, et les accompagner dans le sens de les aider vers la prochaine étape de leur développement, de leur prochaine étape après le passage dans cette équipe ou dans cette entreprise. La deuxième dimension, c'est est-ce que ça signifie que c'est un échec pour soi en tant que responsable, en tant que leader? Et Robert dit l'enjeu, c'est d'abord d'être connecté à sa passion, à son ambition, à pourquoi on est ce leader-là. Parce qu'au fond, on fait du mieux qu'on peut avec les circonstances qui sont là. Surtout que un recadrage que Robert propose, c'est de dire que finalement, de pouvoir continuer la mission de l'entreprise et que cette mission puisse continuer à s'accomplir passe malheureusement par se séparer de certains collaborateurs, mais c'est aussi au service d'une mission pour qu'elle puisse continuer pour d'autres. Et ça, c'est aussi un enjeu. Et enfin, la dernière chose que Robert décrit, c'est aussi l'enjeu, c'est comment rester confiant dans le futur, c'est-à-dire comment finalement travailler les qualités de cette confiance dans le futur qui nous permettent de garder le cap, même si c'est difficile et que cette décision est de toute façon difficile.
Thank you, Jean-François. And a third question is about urgency. How to resist the urgency of everyday life when we know that we must take the time to do otherwise, that the current system is not sustainable? How can we do?
Yeah, well, this is always one of the big challenges because it's short-term versus long-term awareness. And when we just look to the short term and we just look to only the immediate goals and the immediate rewards and the immediate results, that's always a trap. And it's a trap generally because things are changing, and we need to be able to look at the long-term trends. One of the things that we say is that we have to look at the weak signals as well as the strong signals. So they say, and one of the tools that we actually use in our conscious leadership work is, you have these two dimensions: what's urgent and what's important. Now, there are some things that are urgent and important. And those are usually about 20% of the things that we do. And that's, it's significant to take care of them because they are urgent and important. There are other things that they're not urgent and they're not important. And usually people go, okay, well, I can put that off. And that's okay. That where we often get trapped is there's something that's urgent, but it's not important, right? It's not important for that future. And the other place we get trapped is for those things that are not urgent, but they are important for the future. And we see this happening right now in a lot of our world. We see it with climate change. We see it with many of the other challenges that we're facing. There are longer term consequences that are coming that right now are not yet a crisis, but they will be if we do not start taking action. So it involves our ability to, to first, be aware, to know that we do have to take steps to create a sustainable future, and that we need to make that a priority. Now, again, that's where leadership comes in. That's where this notion of practices comes in. We need to make it a habit to be considering sustainability, and not just the habit to only take care of those immediate urgent issues.
Donc Robert revient sur l'importance d'avoir une vision, d'équilibrer la vision long terme et la vision court terme. Et c'est toujours un challenge. C'est toujours un challenge de s'extraire des bénéfices à court terme, des plaisirs à court terme que ça peut apporter. Et c'est important en tant que leader d'être attentif aux grandes tendances, d'être attentif aux signaux faibles, parce qu'ils vont nous indiquer ce qui risque d'arriver si on ne développe pas cette conscience du long terme, cette conscience plus large. Et pour ça, il nous rappelle l'importance de bien différencier ce qui est urgent et ce qui est important, ce qui est non urgent et ce qui est non important et qu'on peut laisser, ce qui est urgent et non important pour le futur, et ce qui est urgent est important pour le futur. Et aujourd'hui, il y a des urgences qui sont importantes, et c'est là où les disciplines du leader, même si les conséquences ne sont pas toutes visibles, les disciplines du leader sont vraiment nécessaires, parce que si on ne les fait pas, si on ne les met pas en place, eh bien, il y a des conséquences qui vont arriver. Et ça vient aussi s'ajouter à la notion de mettre des priorités à ces habitudes, pour que, encore une fois, le leadership soit une discipline qui prenne en compte la dimension long terme.
Thank you, Jean-François. And there is a link with the next question. How to deal with the ambiguity of what a perfect leader should look like and who he is?
Well, for me, that's not an ambiguity. You always should look like you are, and I think that's what a truly conscious leader is. There is no disconnect between how you look and who you are. I think when people try to do that, they try to put on an image, they try to pretend, they try to act. That's already creates a big problem, and it's not. There's a misalignment. You're already starting from a place of misalignment. So now, again, you're always needing to deal with the people's expectations about what somebody should do or what they should look like. However, my experience is that, your own personal congruence is probably one of your greatest places or foundations for charisma. There's what you call charisma as a leader, and that charisma does not come from pretending like you're something that you're not. Charisma only comes from being in complete connection with who you are, and then that's the type of leader you should be. And I think then it's not a matter of looks. Then it's a matter of your level of passion, your level of vision, your degree of ambition, and those are more qualities that we can develop. They're not so much about your personality or your identity.
Thank you. Donc, ce que Robert dit, c'est que cette idée que, et je vois bien cette différence entre ce qu'un leader doit être et ce qu'il est. Finalement, il n'y a pas de différence pour Robert. Un leader doit toujours être ce qu'il est. L'enjeu, sinon ça crée une déconnexion entre qui il est et ce qu'il montre, et c'est plus une façon de répondre à une image que les autres attendent de lui. Et cette déconnexion engendre, pour le coup, une incongruence qui est à l'opposé du charisme. Pour Robert, le charisme, c'est la capacité à être totalement congruent avec sa passion, congruent avec sa vision, congruent avec son ambition. Et c'est là où on est véritablement qui on est et qu'on donne le meilleur de soi en tant que leader.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And sometimes leaders are on their hero's journey,
Yes.
and maybe they are lost. And how can they deal with what they are just becoming, and with what other people are waiting for them?
Well, you know, I think when you're lost, there's two places to look. One is inside and one is outside. And if you're lost on the outside, you need to look inside. If you're lost on the inside, you need to look outside. And what I mean by that is, you know, if I'm not sure, if there's uncertainty around me and I don't know, I can't see on the outside where to go, I have to come back to my own inner compass. So this means I need to connect to myself and my center. If I'm lost on the inside and I don't know that, then I need to look, I mean, this is the whole idea of a hero's journey. I need to look out for what is my calling? Who are my guardians? I mean, if we take this idea of a hero's journey, the key aspects are always, you know, what is this situation calling from me? Even if I'm lost, even if I'm uncertain, even if I don't know what's happening, that's as much of a hero's journey as anything else. And the question is, what is that calling for me to be able to do or to become more? Maybe it's calling me to come in more strongly to what's true for me and to know my values even more strongly. Sometimes it's calling me to look out and say, what are the opportunities? What is the call to adventure that is there for me now? Maybe sometimes it's just a call to be still and to wait, you know, for something to emerge. I've been in all of those situations, and again, it's. I think that the basic aspect of that, of every hero's journey, is it always starts from a sense of connection with your authentic self and what's important for you to take a stand for.
Alors, ce que Robert décrit, c'est que on peut être perdu, et quand on est perdu, il y a deux endroits à regarder, c'est à l'extérieur et à l'intérieur. Et Robert précise que quand vous êtes perdu à l'intérieur, bien regardez à l'extérieur. Et si vous êtes perdu à l'extérieur, regardez à l'intérieur, ce qui nous renvoie à la voie du héros. La voie du héros qui va voir à la fois à l'extérieur et à l'extérieur avec qui sont mes gardiens, qui sont mes alliés, quelles sont les ressources extérieures sur lesquelles je peux m'appuyer. Et puis regarder à l'intérieur, c'est aussi s'interroger sur quelles sont mes valeurs, qu'est-ce qui est vrai pour moi, qui suis-je. En répondant à cette question, c'est aussi la question de qu'est-ce que cette situation appelle de moi. Comment elle m'appelle à m'actualiser d'une certaine manière. Et parfois, une autre façon de gérer la façon d'être perdu, c'est de rester calme et d'attendre que quelque chose veuille bien émerger. Et Robert dit qu'il a vécu toutes ces positions, regarder à l'extérieur, regarder à l'intérieur, parce qu'en étant perdu. Et il rappelle que la voie du héros commence toujours avec cette capacité à se rappeler qui on est au fond.
Thank you. And don't you think there is something very special nowadays? If we are lost inside, and in these times where outside it's very uncertain, how can we do?
Well, if you're meeting inner uncertainty with outer uncertainty, of course, that's going to be very confusing. So what you have to do is to become congruent in yourself. You have to learn how to find your center. And maybe it has to start with just something simple and physical. And this is one of the things I think that's important, that from a conscious leadership perspective, it's one of the reasons that we emphasize multiple intelligences, and particularly somatic intelligence, because when we say we're lost on the inside, inside is a whole world in itself. You know, you have a left brain cognitive world. I can be cognitively lost and uncertain because I don't know what's going to happen in the future. But I can be very grounded in my body and in myself. So I think this is where also having what we would call practices are important. Daily practices, things where you are really coming back to this place of centeredness and certainty in yourself each day. This is what every great leader does. All great leaders are constantly having to deal with uncertainty and change in the world, change in themselves, change in, you know, in everything that's happening. So we have to find that first place of stability within. And like I say, if I can't find it in my mind because I'm in analysis paralysis, then I have to come into the body. So I mean that's what I do. You know, I have my practices that are grounding me each day and reminding me of who I am and, you know, what's important in my life.
Alors ce que Robert décrit dans ce contexte incertain et dans cet univers complexe, c'est que si on est dans une confusion intérieure et que cette confusion intérieure rencontre une confusion extérieure, eh bien ça va être encore plus difficile. Ça va être encore plus difficile. D'où l'importance pour Robert de revenir au-delà de notre inquiétude et de notre analyse paralysante, de revenir à notre corps, de revenir à cette intelligence somatique qu'il pratique quotidiennement pour équilibrer notre cerveau gauche qui, lui, veut maîtriser les choses et d'avoir des rituels, de revenir à son centre comme rituel, par exemple, pour trouver ce sens, cette expérience de la stabilité. Et que cette stabilité vienne de l'intérieur dans un environnement qui, lui, est mouvant. Et c'est ce que font tous les leaders qui sont face à l'incertitude, qui sont face à la complexité, c'est qu'ils ont cette capacité à revenir à une certaine stabilité intérieure pour ne pas être emportés par le mouvement extérieur.
Thank you, Jean-François. And maybe a last question. What role plays ethics in leadership?
Well, it's really, ethics has a central place in leadership, obviously. Probably the greatest damage in the world to people has been done by unethical leaders. I mean, that seems obvious. But ethics is complicated, obviously, because you know, ethics is it's a function of how we think about things, and what can seem ethical to somebody might be unethical to somebody else, and that's where it's important to have a common understanding and a common strategy for ethics. You know, this is where one of the key concepts in conscious leadership is that about whole-on, and that conscious leaders care for the whole-on. Generally, unethical behavior comes when we are simply benefiting one part of the whole to the disadvantage of others. That's generally what's considered unethical. You know, it's somebody wins at the expense of others who are losing in order for them to win. And so an ethical leader is somebody who is really trying to create as strong of or as wide of a win as possible. And this is complicated because it requires looking at things from multiple perspectives and multiple timelines. You know, then there's also a whole issue of priorities, and where do we put ethics often relates to priorities. What is most important in terms of what you're trying to accomplish. I was watching very interesting show that last night that I heard about from about 5 people in one day, and it's called The Social Dilemma. It's on Netflix, and it's all about how social media and things like Google have not intentionally, but because they set up their whole business models to maximize their profit. They're a lot of what's happening on social media, where they're selling information about people, where they're constantly trying to get people to stay addicted to something. These are ethical issues that it was not something that the founders themselves even were thinking of in the beginning, because they didn't even realize how pervasive or how effective these algorithms can be. So, we can't always predict, but then I think another big part of ethics is accountability, that once we recognize these things, then we need to take steps to correct them, to make a difference, and not to go into denial or blame of others. So obviously it's a big subject, but the simple answer to your question is that ethics is central to all leadership. If you don't have it, you create disasters.
Alors Robert dit sur l'importance de l'éthique dans le leadership qu'elle joue un rôle central et qu'en même temps l'éthique n'est pas une réponse évidente, parce que l'éthique pose des questions, parce que c'est une question de perspective et de perspectives multiples sur un sujet et de priorités qu'il faut identifier par rapport à un sujet, parce que l'éthique suppose de se demander à quoi je donne la priorité dans la décision éthique que je vais prendre. Et pour lui, le concept de Holon qu'on verra dans le programme, c'est la capacité à prendre en compte le plus de perspectives possibles pour intégrer une relation gagnant-gagnant avec le plus de parties prenantes du système auquel on s'adresse, de façon à ce que tout le monde gagne et que non pas que certains gagnent et que d'autres perdent. Et pour lui, un leader conscient, c'est cette capacité à prendre en compte différentes perspectives en matière d'éthique, en matière d'histoire aussi, du temps, du passé, du futur. Et Robert rappelle ce qui est en train de passer sur Netflix en ce moment, qui s'appelle le film Le Dilemme social, et qui rappelle comment aujourd'hui certains sur les réseaux sociaux on cherche à maximiser leurs profits, donc à finalement avoir une vision du Holon un peu centrée sur eux, et ont la volonté peut-être de rendre les gens dépendants, et comment ces algorithmes sont devenus finalement, ont dépassé les fondateurs qui n'avaient pas du tout cette intention au départ quand ils ont lancé tous ces mouvements. Donc l'éthique, c'est vraiment derrière ça la capacité à être responsable et à ne pas culpabiliser ou accuser les autres, mais à se positionner comme responsable et d'une responsabilité entre guillemets redevable. C'est essentiel.
Thank you, Jean-François. So we are now at the end of this live. Maybe you can also join us if you have some other questions also for the organization. We hope to see you in 2 weeks now in the south.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is a good time to let us know that if you're planning to come, because we want to be able to welcome you there.
Yes, and the training is both online and live, and we hope to be live, and even if it's uncertain, the online part will take place. So you can enroll, you can join us, and maybe do I forget something, Jean-François, Robert? No, it's okay.
Just looking forward to seeing you there, and I hope we can really create that aligned, charismatic leader just as you are.
Well, I think this is probably one of the most important things that we need today. I think if you look around the world, not only at the challenges that we have to deal with, but a lot of what has created those challenges. It's the need for conscious leadership, and not just for the big things, but for our lives, for everything that we do. And so that's why I think this program is probably one of the most important program that you could attend this year. It's exactly what we need, and we have really been putting this together with that in mind, that we want to provide those who come with the tools that they would most need in order not only to just get through these challenges, but to help be creating where we're going to be living next and hopefully make it better.
Yeah, better. Thanks a lot, Robert, for your time.
Oh yeah, thank
for
you.
your wisdom sharing with us. That's awesome.
And see you soon.
See you soon, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hope to see you all soon. Bye-bye.